This is Deep Pelegi. My name is Paul Nixon, and this is Say It Loud.
So I have a question to start off
Okay.
about this Bill Cosby situation.
Okay.
Of course, it seems to be a lot of clashing between the cultural ramifications and kind of the legal ramifications. What are your thoughts on that?
It's unfortunate that the cultural aspect is being highlighted to such a great degree, because in my opinion, from a legal perspective, he deserves to go to jail.
Absolutely.
I think Bill Cosby, having committed the crimes he committed, he belonged in prison. So that's pretty cut and dry as far as I'm concerned. But the cultural aspects are kind of making it a little bit muddy, and it makes it a little bit harder to root against him, I guess. And typically you root against the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
He's a criminal, whatever you want to call it. You root against him. It's easy to root against Jeffrey Dahmer or somebody like that.
Absolutely.
But Bill Cosby, who we grew up watching, not in the same house or anything.
No,
but
I did not live in the Nixon house.
No, there was no.
Even though John Nixon is my favorite.
Wow. That was a mistake. So anyway, we grew up watching Bill Cosby and kind of deifying him, and for a while he was kind of the king of TV, and even before we were around, before our time. And the Cosby Show was like his third or fourth show or something like that, and then after that he had another show called Cosby, and then he had Cosby Mysteries, and just all kind of stuff, and he's just such a big part of our culture. So it sucks that he's being dragged through the mud for our culture. Yeah. But from a legal perspective, it makes sense.
Absolutely. So. I mean, he was more than just a TV figure. Right. He was a shining example of everything that we should aspire to as black people. As young black people, he was, the impetus behind Different World.
Right.
Different World was one of my favorite shows. It gave me the idea that I could go to college, and that there was also black colleges that I could go to where I could be like culturally empowered. Shout out to Oakwood University and all that good stuff. But it's like seeing somebody, an uncle, or even a father for some people that you've known all of your life. He's been in our lives, all of our lives, and to some capacity, we've laughed at him. I remember having an 8-track of his comedy tape, where he's like, I got soap in my eyes and I was blinded for life. It was hilarious. And we would listen to it over and over. So he was in the soundtrack of my life, And so, seeing him, as soon as the accusations came out, every black person that I know, we took it personally.
Right.
We wanted to immediately have the women, no matter what our positions were, whether we had, like me, been, sexually assaulted in my past or whatever. It didn't matter. It was the fact that he was a person that we just could not imagine would commit a crime like that. It hurt.
Right.
Big time. But...
Right, but
he's a rapist, you know what I mean? So it's like, you got to go to jail, and we want him to be punished for his crime because we do care about the ramifications of how women are treated in this country when it comes to, sexual assault and sexual violence. So it's a huge clash, and it really is hard to reconcile for us, and we're not really honest about it. We don't attack the right things. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What was your initial reaction when you heard the accusations? This is a couple years ago. You might not remember, but you first heard Cosby's accused of rape. What was your first?
Well, I'm
reaction?
A Christian, so I can't say the words that I said then, because not I have
you're
grown.
You're a Christian, but because you're on camera, that's the reason.
That's right.
But,
I have grown.
Since last
in the
year.
Lord. Get out of here. But the truth of the matter is, it was upsetting. I wanted to immediately assume that somebody was after him, or there was some conspiracy. I didn't want to believe it.
Right.
What about you?
The same thing. That was my initial reaction too, and it reminds me of a comedy bit. I think it was Dave Chappelle. I don't remember who said it now.
You can't bring up Dave Chappelle.
Why?
Because he curses.
Oh, is that the reason?
Yes.
Okay. It wasn't Chappelle then. Somebody else. Somebody who doesn't curse.
A comedian that shall not be named.
A black comic who doesn't curse. Anyway, he had this. It was one of his bits or whatever. And he was talking about how his reaction to somebody saying Obama did something.
Oh yeah.
And he said somebody said Obama did this, and he was like, yeah, that sounds like him. Somebody said Obama did that. It's like, no, there's no way he could do that. So the thing that he said, did Obama do that? It was like he was like he like bombed a country or something like that. And it's like, man, he didn't do that. And they're like, we have it on camera. He's like, nah, man, that wasn't him. Or something.
Yeah.
And then it's like, Obama beat his kids. Like, oh yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like our reaction, our natural reaction to our heroes, I guess, is that we don't want them to have done the bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, so it makes sense. And from a black cultural perspective, that's just kind of part of our culture, I think, to an extent. You know, we don't want Michael Jordan to be a terrible person. That's not what I'm ready to say.
We ascribe good qualities to people that we love and admire. Yeah. It's natural. You know, we do that across the board. Unfortunately, the rest of the world, you know, non-blacks, you know, do the exact opposite. You know, they easily ascribe these negative features, and I think that's what's most hurtful to a lot of people about seeing him in handcuffs, about seeing him like slowly becoming the face of sexual predators, is this whole idea that no matter what he's done in his life, the philanthropist that he was, the, you know, community advocate or activist in his own right that he was in his time, there's just this undertone that they're all like that. You know, this is what black men do. This is who he really is at his core. And, you know, it's just become his whole definition. The definition of Bill Cosby is now sexual predator. And that's hard for us to digest. You know, I don't want to believe that is the sum total of who he is. Right. But I can't ignore the fact that he's done some very terrible things that he needs to be punished for. Right. You know.
I remember, I'm pretty sure it was Felicia Rashad when this whole thing started. She said, she had a statement that said something like, this is just them trying to tear down another black man. Yeah. And that was kind of our collective reaction to it. Like, he was trying to tear us down. It's one of the ways in which our...
and then the numbers started climbing.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like, okay, this doesn't seem like a coincidence. It's one of the ways that our cultural bent kind of works against us, I guess. You know, we associate so much with our heroes that when one of them goes down, they say, this is all of them. Yeah. And then we've been on his team for so long, we can't divorce ourselves from it now. You know, they have us on tape saying, yeah, I'm Bill Cosby or whatever. So now
we're marginalized people. Yeah. So our few representations, we take them seriously. Like, we protect Obama. We love the fact that he lived above reproach for those 8 years that he was in office. Which and we were kind of like, you know, waiting for somebody to come out with something in anticipation, you know, like anxiously the whole time, and they never did. And you know, we're very proud of him because of that. And so sadly, black people, in order to keep their good name, have to completely live above reproach. Right. Like, you don't even get to mess up. Not even a little bit. Exactly. You do not get to be a human being. Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, you know, poor Kavanaugh.
Right. On the other hand,
you know, he was just a young lad.
You can live below reproach, and it doesn't seem to matter much.
No, we get vilified for calling him out on his stuff because it was 36 years ago. Right. So, God forbid we say anything about it now, even though that's the exact reason why Bill Cosby's going to jail. Right. You know. Right. Yeah.
Do you think there's a connection between? There's obviously a connection between it, but what do you think the connection is between Trump specifically being president and somebody like Kavanaugh coming to the bench? What if Kavanaugh or somebody like Kavanaugh had been recommended by, let's say, George W. Bush? Do you think the reaction would be similar?
The reaction to what? Him being being involved with this woman in this negative way? Yeah, I think the reaction would be similar, but probably not at that time. You know, the Me Too movement has changed the game. That's true. You know, the climate and I guess the scene has been set for something like this. Like, people are primed and ready to go on the attack or the defense, you know, over this whole sexual assault issue. And, you know, women aren't here for it anymore. Right. And we got an army of men behind us, too, that are just like, you know, people got to pay now. It's time to start, you know, the time of reckoning has come. You know what I mean? It is what it is. So I think it would have happened, but probably not to such a serious and media, you know, involved extent.
Right, right. So do you think the fact that it was 36 years ago, do you think that should matter? Should there be a statute of limitations on this kind of thing?
No.
All right, there you
That's
go.
it.
Just no.
Just no.
All right, cool.
Do you?
No, I agree with you. Mostly because you can probably beat me up. Yeah. So that's, So I agree with everything that you're saying.
I will hurt you.
No, that's not the reason. I think there's, there shouldn't be a statute of limitations. Whether you can beat me up or not, there shouldn't be.
It's a little bit.
I mean, it's a little bit. That's why I'm saying it right now. Yeah.
This has been
Say It Loud. Peace.